Aloha. Welcome to the Caring Caregiver Show. I'm your host, Savy, the founder of Gimme a Break, which of course you all know, the nonprofit organization that's caring for you, caregivers. That's what we do. We're here to bring back the joy of caregiving. And each week we try to bring resources to you to help you to survive. And it is a survival. You're on a survival journey, and we want you to thrive in this journey, in it and beyond. And of course, you can check out our website. And I am lazy today. Look at that. Didn't even pop it up on the screen. There we go. And you can check out our website at gab808.org. Of course, you can text anytime to 808-754-3787 and drop us an email at info@gab808.org for more information and support, because gosh, I know what it's like. I'm a caregiver too. I'm still caregiving. I wasn't just a caregiver before for both my parents, but I still could caregive even now. And it was interesting. I was talking with Audrey just before we went on air, and I was telling her how I'm caregiving because I say people, pets, and plants to all of you. And of course, my pet. So my little girl had a little accident and hurt her leg, and she has just been working it for attention from mom. So that is caregiving at its best. Trust me, that's one of the other caregivings that I do as well. And so we know that you're all there, and we know how frustrated you can get. And that's why we're here. Now, Give Me a Break gives a break every week in our support sessions. And you can log into the support session online. It's free. It's totally affordable. You don't even need to register for it. Just log on. It's a Zoom. And it's Tuesday at 8 p.m. Hawaii time. So every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Hawaii time, just log in. That phone number that I gave you earlier, the 808-754-3787 is the meeting ID. Don't need a password. Join a community of caregivers just like you, where we create a safe space where we can share with each other. Of course, I'm always going to put some education in there for you and some homework to help to make your caregiving wonderful. But the whole thing really is give yourself that break away from what you're doing to connect with a community of caregivers just like you. All right. And let's see what else we have today. The Caring Caregiver Show is sponsored by Givers Guides Online Magazine. For those of you that have a subscription to Givers Guides Online Magazine, congratulations, because it is the only magazine out there written for caregivers by caregivers, and from a caregiver's point of view, because really a caregiver's point of view is very different from anyone else. Our March issue is out, and there's some amazing articles in this month's issue. And also, we're featuring one of our guests today. So go out and get your subscription. You can go to switching gears right there, giversguides.com. and get your subscription. And remember that the subscription, all of the proceeds go to Give Me a Break to help support what Give Me a Break does to care for caregivers. By the way, March 7th is tomorrow, and that's National Cereal Day. Did you all know it's National Cereal Day? You may not have known that. Do you like my little cereal guy? I think he's adorable. And it's National Cereal Day. And it's a day that encourages the celebration through social media to give out different kinds of innovative recipes, have discussions about cereal, and really the importance of that first meal of the day. And I know caregivers, you don't always get that good start of the day. You don't always get that healthy breakfast. So tomorrow especially, grab a bowl of cereal. And you're going to see a post on our Facebook page for National Cereal Day. And I want to know what your favorite cereals are. What are your favorite toppings? Tell me what you would do, the ultimate bowl of cereal. That'll be up there tomorrow. So look for it on our Facebook page and comment. And if you're one of those who comments, guess what? We're going to select one on the wheel, and you're going to win a caregiver pamper kit. So, and thank you for those of you who did submit a support request on our website and paid attention last week and won. And congratulations that won the pamper kit last week. Those are in the mail on their way to you. All right. Whew, that's a lot. Where are we? Okay. So it is episode 5 of season 11. Wow. I love this. I love this. I'm so excited because this, and especially this season, so life-changing. You really don't want to miss a single show. Let's get on with the show. It is time for your favorite person and mine and our favorite moment. It's time for Audrey's mindful moment. So aloha, Audrey. Audrey Alice is a yoga and meditation instructor based on Hawaii Island. Aloha. Welcome. I'm turning it all over to you.
Thank you, darling Savy. Aloha, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good day. Caregivers, you heard Savy tell you, give yourself a break. Take a moment, a mindful moment. You may notice that my background today is a little bit different. This is my real life home yoga studio, i.e. my lounge. And we are practicing a little bit of movement today. So I have got a chair on which I will sit. I will talk a little bit louder because I know my microphone is a bit further from me today. And I am inviting you to sit comfortably on your chair. You can do this in your whole entire day. In your 24 hours, you can find 5 minutes to sit on your chair. Bring your hands to your knees and close the eyes. Take a quick moment just to notice the feet firmly planted on the ground, your sit bones on your chair, and your shoulders relaxing. Drop those shoulders. Today we're moving a little bit. I wanted to make sure you could see the whole thing so we can do it together and you can come back to that in the week and move some more. So to begin with, we'll take our right arm and make some forward circles. I know you can't quite see my hand when it comes up to the top, but you know it's right there, right? So big shoulder circle, big, huge arm circle, all the way. Reach forward, reach up, hold it here, maybe a little twist, and then we're coming back. So go the other direction. Reach back, reach up, reach ahead, all the way down. We're doing one more full circle. And then big inhale, reach all the way up. This time, right hand is going to find your left knee. And then your left hand is going to rest on the back of your chair. You can hold on the back or the side of the chair. And from here, close the eyes. Big inhale, long spine. Big exhale through the mouth with a big sigh. Let all that hakaka go. You can make the funny faces. I do this in the store sometimes. I'll exhale like that. And then my kids are like, Mom, what? So you can do it at home. Close the eyes. One more big breath in. Big breath out. Beautiful. Open the eyes. Come back forward. Give everything a shimmy. We're doing that with the left arm. So you're reaching all the way up, all the way back. Nice. Keep going. Ahead and up and back. And again, all the way. There's a little twist already as you reach behind you. Next time you reach up, big inhale here. Reverse the circle. Go the other way. Really simple. Oh, hello, shoulders. Can you feel that? We're oiling the shoulder up. Getting a little bit of blood going through it, getting some fascia released, all the way up here, hold, and then on your exhale, left hand to the right knee this time, right hand behind you. You can hold the chair or rest the arm on it. Nice, and then check in. If your left knee kind of falls in here, just notice it and sit again nice and comfortably. Big inhale here, close the eyes. As you exhale, big sigh, soften the shoulders too. And then one more time, big inhale here. Big exhale. Come back forward. Give everything a shimmy and a wiggle. We'll make some torso circles, get some blood flowing again. So go a little wider with your knees. Hands to the knees, we're making circles. Let's lean over the right leg first. And then forward here, over the left leg. And then go as far back as your torso will allow. And again, we're keeping those feet firmly planted on the floor. There you go, Savvy. Here's my pet too. This is Ginger. She'll make some circles with us. Keep going. Hi, beautiful. And then reverse the circles. Go the other way. Hands to the floor, or to the knees rather. Make those circles really wide. You want to feel the lower back. You want to feel the ribs. Nice. No rush. Next time we're leaning forward, we'll go side to side. Over the left knee and over the right knee. One more each way. Phew, hello lower back. Hello thighs. Hello all the parts. And then from here, inhale, reach up. Let's take the arms all the way up and all the way down. Hands to heart center. Close the eyes. Big inhale. Big exhale. Et voila. Happy Aloha Wednesday, beautiful caregivers. You matter. What you do matters. Give yourselves a break. Mwah. I'll see you next week.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Mahalo, Audrey. All righty. Oh, see, you guys, just taking a moment. That only took a few minutes. And we really want to thank Audrey for that. You can contact her. Oh, I just put it up. Let me put it back up on the screen. There you go. You can contact her. You guys know the number by now, 808-936-9142. Or look for I Am Audrey Alice on Instagram. And thank you so much for sharing that time with us. And it's so important to take a mindful moment. You all know you don't do it. And I appreciate those of you who are live, because that means you're taking time today. Now, my first guest is a practicing hospitalist. Say that fast 5 times. She is a practicing hospitalist, also the author of Prescription for Admission, a doctor's guide to navigating the hospital, advocating for yourself, and having better hospitalization. Now, this is an awesome thing. I'm really excited to talk and get more information about how you need to navigate that. So please welcome today, Dr. Monique Nugent, as in Ted Nugent, she said, so I would remember it. So that ages me too. But welcome, Monique. It's so wonderful to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me. And thank you to your watchers and listeners, like you said, for taking the time.
Yes. And, I love having our mindful moment because I think that's, that with Audrey just before this. So thank you for waiting while we did that, because I think it just really helps us all to get in the right headspace, and one of the things is because we are all caregivers. And so the first thing I always ask is if you share your caregiving story.
Yeah, so I will say, in addition to being Cereal Day tomorrow is actually National Hospitalist Day, which is what I do. I'm a hospitalist. I'm an internist who works in the hospital only, seeing acutely hospitalized adults. I don't work in the ICU. And so my caregiver story really is a story based around building a career in hospitals and caring for people in really just scary points in their lives. When I was a resident, I got to hang out with other residents, and you get to hang out with the obstetrical residents, and they get to meet people at points of kind of happiness and excitement in their life, right? But when people meet me, it's usually due to illness or injury. There's a lot of unknowns. And so I'm caring for people in a time when there's a lot of fear and anxiety. People may be excited to see me, as in the thought process of, oh, I'm going to get someone to look at me. I'm going to get care. I'm going to get relief. But I always say a hospitalization rarely ends with an answer. It usually ends with more things to do, And so working in this setting, I've worked in hospitals on the West Coast. I trained in Southern California. Now I live in Massachusetts, West Coast to East Coast. I've been in VA hospitals, community hospitals, county hospitals. One of the county hospitals I worked in had a prison center. I've really kind of seen patients from all walks of life. And what I can say...
And that takes a really special heart. Really, it does. And you're a caregiver in so many ways there. You also mentioned that there might be a little one walking by. So are you a caregiver as a mom as well?
I am. I've got 3. My youngest is going to be 2 in a couple of weeks. And so the babysitter canceled at the last second. So if somebody pops in,
That's fine. And that's the beauty of being a caregiver, is that we all know what it's like to go from chaos to crisis in a moment. So so it takes such a special heart to do what you do. And I really love, just opening that definition of a caregiver all the time. I'm constantly reminding people that a caregiver is not necessarily just somebody, in that sort of bubble of, I'm caring for my parent or I'm caring for a sick person. Caregiving is done in so many ways. And I want people to realize that you are a caregiver. And so your story helps our viewers to see that, hey, wait a minute, I'm a caregiver too.
Yeah. And I do find my job to be for me, it's a personal calling to be with people in those points of ambiguity. And so thank you for including me in your community.
I know that is it's really a tough time. And so I know that spurred you on to publish your book. Can we talk a little bit about it?
Yeah. So I actually have a copy here. It's kind of hard for people to see.
Oh, wonderful.
But you can
Good.
find it on Amazon or Barnes & Nobles, anywhere that you find books. And it's entitled, like you said, Prescription for Admission, because that's what this is, right? This is my doctor's orders for you on how to get through a hospital stay. And what really spurred this on for me was caregivers. The idea of writing this came to me during COVID. During the pandemic, a lot of caregivers were shielded from being in the hospital, right? People could not be at the bedside as easily with their loved ones as before. And
it was horrible.
It was. And it was for us on the provider side as well. Because as a hospitalist, as someone who practices only when people are very sick, only when people are looking for help, I really depend on people's friends, family members, or caregivers to tell me things like, no, mom really isn't like this. Mom is usually a lot less confused like this. Dad isn't going to tell you he's in pain. My husband is really afraid of MRIs but won't admit it. Things like that. Yeah. And so we depend on that community, and it became very difficult for us on how we were communicating with people and how people felt supported. And so I got this idea in my head. I said, I'm going to write something that's going to help people through COVID. But what I ended up finding was that I wasn't solving a new problem. All the things I was addressing were problems I had seen coast to coast, hospital to hospital, over and over again. And so actually in the book, you won't find the word COVID, because this is a book about hospitals and the things that are happening in general. And it doesn't, the nature of illness doesn't change the things that frustrate us, right? It amplifies it, or it may make certain frustrations happen more frequently. If you're someone who has to get more blood draws, right? Then you get frustrated with being woken up at a certain hour, right?
Yeah. But why do they keep poking me, right?
Exactly, right? But it's unfortunately, it's the same system, and it's the system that frustrates people. It's the system that swallows people up. And so I'm really just trying to give people more tools to be within that system and be successful.
Yeah, I really wish I had your book, in the many times that I've had to, of course, it wasn't until after COVID, but even during COVID for myself, it was a really tough time. The love of my life ended up getting in there, and I was locked out. I literally was outside of emergency, roadside of the hospital, outside the hospital, pacing with no word on what was going on. Are you alive? Are you dead? I don't know. And it was the worst 65 minutes, I believe, of my life. And I nearly myself ended up in emergency. So I can totally relate to how that must have been, because I wasn't the voice. And so I couldn't be there to answer questions either. I didn't know what was going on. And, boy, I would have been glad to know someone like you was also there. And there probably was, but I didn't know that. And I didn't know that until reading about you and what you do, and then seeing your book as well. So What a great tool that you've provided, especially for the caregiver.
Thank
I
you. Thank you.
love that.
And it is a tool. There's when you pick up your copy of it, what you'll find is that there's spaces to write things in. I want people to write down their thoughts around, CPR and resuscitation. There's QRS codes to scan to take you to different websites. And I also included a short guide for you to download on your phone and keep kind of what I thought were the high yield points of the book that, you could easily go back to. Somebody once asked if it was available in hard copy, and I said no, because I want it to be just thrown in a bag. I want it to be dog-eared. I want you to scribble stuff down, and think back, oh, let me go back and see, like she mentioned NPO. What does that mean? Let me go back in the book and see why it's important for me to actually do the thing that they're asking me to do.
I love that. Yeah. And I love that because a lot of times you do want to make those notations, but you don't want to write all in the margin, or start, so I think that's brilliant. And it is a great tool. I think every caregiver should almost have one. Just at the point that you become a caregiver, that should be the first thing you get is your book.
I will say this. When I published the book, I think I was a little bit naive in the idea. I thought like, oh, everyone's going to be excited to talk about this. But what I found are the only people excited to talk about hospitals are hospitalists like myself, and the people who have to come over and over, and that's caregivers. And so I've actually found that caregivers have been a huge audience that I've learned that needed to be supported in this way, and that I speak to, because I encourage people to find in the book. I say, who's your care partner, right? Who is the person who takes you to doctor's offices? Who is the person you call if you're like, oh, I need the prescription picked up? Like who is your partner? Because on the other end is the person who's being cared for as the patient. We don't want to lose their voice of autonomy. We don't want them to feel as if they're being dragged along. And so it is a partnership between caregiver, patient, hospitalist, nurse, and how this team works together.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. And I love that you use the partnership in that, because it does become, one of the things that we talk about in our support sessions. And I encourage our caregivers to develop their POA. Their BOA, which is their board of advisors. And so when they're looking at their own personal caregiving or care receiving plan, to start developing your own board of advisors now. And that includes all the partners that you need in your care. And that's one of the hardest things that happens for caregivers now, is that the person they're caring for didn't necessarily set that up.
Yeah.
So we don't know who all the partners are in the success of this person's caregiving, care receiving journey. And so I think that your book needs to be part of that care receiving journey plan, just because of knowing, and we're just touching on some of the things that are in your book. There's so much that your book covers. I know that is going to be helpful. And I think you even address things like medical directives and, what was the other one? The power of attorneys and some of the legalities as well. So it's really a great guidebook for a caregiver in not just helping the one they care for, their caree, but your care receiving plan.
Yeah.
So I love that. Yeah.
Yeah. Planning ahead is a gift that you give to the people who are on those board of directors, who are going to become your power of attorney, your healthcare proxy. I do teaching sessions where we go over the PULSed form. Some states call it the MULSed form, the mobile orders for life-sustaining treatment, or the portable orders for life-sustaining treatment. And what I say to people when we talk about this is that like, this is your chance for your voice.
We lost you for a second. I think we lost audio on you. Okay, let's try that again. Oops. Oops. Nope. There, are you back? I still can't hear you. Can you hear me? Wave your hand if you can hear me. Monique, can you hear my voice? Yeah, I don't know what happened, but we lost audio on you. I don't think it's audio. I'm not sure if it's my audio, but I am going to check that right now. No, we are good. And let me see what's going on. I'm not sure what happened. We don't seem to have audio on you. Rats. Okay, well, I'm hoping that my audio is there. If you are watching live, please enter in the chat whether you can hear us or not. So I'm not sure what happened with audio. Monique, I lost you. Doggone it. I'll tell you, we can try something really daring. And if you want to try to log off and then log back on, and hopefully you'll be able to come back on, and your audio will come on with you. So let's go ahead and give it a try. I'm going to put you in backstage for now. Hopefully she'll be able to come back and we'll be able to hear her. I'm not sure what's going on with audio, and I'm hoping that my audio is still on. So we're going to keep continuing on with the show. What I'm doing right now, by the way, is I am going to go on to Facebook and see if I can be heard. Anyone out there, go ahead and let me know if you can hear me. Let's see, where's chat? Chat. Okay. Oh, so you can hear me. Okay, great. Thank you. All right. So we are fine. We do have audio. I'm not sure what's going on. Let me see if I can bring you back on. Nope. And let's see what happens with Monique, if she can come back on, and we can always circle back. There. Oh, there you are. You're back. Wonderful. I hear you.
Hello. Can you hear me again?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Oh.
Okay. Can you hear me also, Monique? I can hear you now, but can you hear me? Let me try this.
Hello?
Can you hear me now? Yep, we can hear you. Okay,
you can hear me now?
Thank you.
I cannot hear myself.
I can hear you, yes. I'm nodding yes, but can you hear me? Isn't this a fun show? Okay, well, you can't hear me. So it's like a Verizon commercial. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Now? Yes, I know you can't hear, so we hear you. Okay, so for some reason, go ahead and speak. So I'm using the chat now for her to go ahead and speak. Closing comments. There we go. Okay, let's see if that works.
So I'm going to give some closing comments. Perfect. First of all, the number one closing comment is going to be to Savy and her very flexible self for being so supportive in this technical moment. So thank you so much. So the fact that I'm here on a Caregivers stream, I really want to take a chance to say that caregivers need to take a hospitalization and understand that it is a marathon. It is not something that is just like going to go easily. And so you're going to need supports. You're going to need your own supports just as much as you're supporting the person in the hospital.
Yes.
Right? So what that means is take some time for yourself. I had a child in the NICU, and I had a neonatologist very lovingly tell me to get out of the NICU one night and say, go lay down in your bed and sleep, because you have to do this again. Your child is cared for tonight, but you have to do this again. And so whatever moments you can take those moments. Whatever help people are willing to extend, someone can pick your kids up because you got to run back and forth between the hospital, take that. take the supports that you need to support somebody else. Because as I said earlier in the hospital, in this podcast or stream, a hospitalization rarely ends with a fix. It rarely ends with things getting easier. There's usually more things. There's usually new doctor's appointments, new equipment, more oxygen, stuff like that. And so it's only going to become more complicated. And so what you need to do is try and take the few days that someone is in the hospital, if it is a few days, and get those resources that you need to get back to it when somebody's home or discharged to the next place. So just take some time for you, accept the supports, let the people who love you love on you, and make sure that you're able to go the long distance. So thank you, Savy, so much. And everybody else, again, the book is Prescription for Admission. Check it out. I'm really bad at this, evidently. Check it out on Amazon or barnesandnobles.com. And I did send Savy a copy to give away to someone sometime in the future. So thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you, Monique. I know you may not be able to hear me, but you see me speaking, and thank you so much. Really appreciate it. And again, everybody, Dr. Monique Nugent, and you can go onto her website. It's right there on the screen. It's drmoniquenugent.com, and you can get that book. You can contact her. She's right there for you. So thank you so much. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I'm sorry we had some audio problems, but I feel like we probably could have talked all day. There's so much that she could have shared with us in what she does. And, you can get more information. Just go and check out her website. And of course, you guys know you can always just contact me if you need that information. Wow. What a wonderful, wonderful publication. And I'm really excited for all of you to be able to get that. So let's move right along, and hopefully we're going to be able to hear each other. I actually met my next guest at the Hawaii LGBT Foundation Town Hall meeting that I went to. And this person is a viral hepatitis prevention coordinator for the Hawaii Department of Health's Harm Reduction Services branch. And I know that's a mouthful, but honestly, he gave a presentation that was amazing. And I really wanted to just have Thaddeus come on. So welcome, Thaddeus, Pham. Welcome to the show. I'm so excited to have you.
Thanks
and
for
I'm so
inviting me,
glad you took
Savy.
the time to come on. Yes.
Yes, I'm excited to be here, and hopefully you can hear me.
Yes. I saw you backstage kind of frantically checking all your audio.
Well, and then I was just, it was so exciting. I was hoping that, it was like a journey that we were all on together. So I was
right. And then
so
all of a sudden she would be able to hear me, right?
Yeah.
And that's okay, but that's what it's all about, right? And we just kind of keep moving forward. And the bottom line is she's wonderful, and it's a great introduction to see that there's a resource out there for caregivers in that way. And and I was watching your presentation, and I was so excited to hear about this because, our LGBTQIA community is so underserved, and especially those who are kupuna and kupuna caregivers. Everything changes, right? Many people may not realize that, but everything changes in the way you get care, receive care, and how you care for yourself, and how isolated you can become because
exactly.
The LGBTQIA community is already isolated.
Exactly.
And so, then it just increases, right? So tell me about that. Let's talk about that. Well, of course, your caregiving story.
Well, my caregiving story, I really loved hearing the introduction that you gave at the very beginning, where, caregiving is so expansive, right? In a sense, we're all caregivers, and we're always taking care of something or someone that we care about. So I hope that, first of all, that your doggy heals well and thoroughly and doesn't milk it for
She's
too
snoring
long.
right now.
Okay, so she sounds pretty good. That's funny because I used to be a vet tech, so I actually did care for a lot of our four-legged and winged and other creatures. But my caregiving journey is pretty expansive, I feel like. I mean, I work in the health department, and I work with our community partners, mostly among communities that are underserved, like our LGBTQIA communities. but also our folks who are houseless, folks who have mental health issues, folks who are immigrants and migrants. So, I feel like the role of some of us is that broader community
Yeah.
caregiving, and
Yeah.
everything that Dr. Nugent talked about and that you've spoken to, I think can really be applied to the folks doing that work as well. So I really, really want to thank you for that and for inviting me to this space.
No,
For my
not at
own,
all.
yeah, yeah, it's just very moving, and I will acknowledge, I have a mom. She just turned 70. She's still going at it, but we, in a sense, she doesn't need physical caregiving, but she enjoys having us around, and I think she enjoys having the social aspects of
Right.
life be part of the nourishment that she receives. So I think that's something that we really try to encourage and ensure that she's just part of our lives, right? And that she
Yes.
gets to
And
talk stories
now
with
is the
us.
time. Now
Hmm.
is the time, no mistake, to really
Hmm.
start having discussions about her care receiving plan, right?
Hmm.
I mean, I didn't even know what toothpaste my mother liked. I didn't even
Hmm.
know if she had a preference to her hairbrush or her skincare. And so these discussions and of course hospitalizations
Hmm.
and the detail of it, that you can start having these conversations as a family with her, because the time does come when they don't have a voice. And
Exactly. Yeah.
and, and you want to be their voice, but you want to be an accurate voice. So really a
Very
great
much
time
so.
to start imposing those conversations. And I mean, and speaking of voice, right, that's the whole thing,
Hmm.
right? An underserved community doesn't always have a voice. And then on top of that, when you don't have a voice, those that represent you don't know what your voice is.
Yeah,
So
exactly. Yeah. And that's why it's so valuable to have our
double whammy.
caregivers. Yeah. Us as caregivers in our own lives, but caregivers who do this, as their work or as their career or vocation, having them just be aware of some of the needs of the LGBTQIA plus community are valuable, because you can be that voice for someone to really ensure that in that time of life, they are getting the care that not only they need, but that they had wanted,
And that they're
right?
worthy of, that they're
That
deserved.
they're worthy, right? Exactly. Everyone is worthy of that care. So what you had brought up, Savvy, about knowing my mom's toothpaste and favorite makeup and everything. I think those are questions I'm going to have to go back and ask. I appreciate you asking, but I also that's an important question that comes up, for example, for people who identify as transgender, mahuahine, mahukane, who enter caregiving spaces and don't get those questions asked, and then end
Yes.
up not with the care that they want, and sometimes will leave care because they just don't feel comfortable.
Right. Right.
Hmm.
And that's not right, because they should receive that and they're worthy of that. It's
Hmm.
really funny. I went to, before the town hall that I met you, I went to a town hall out in Waianae.
Hmm.
And there was some wonderful, wonderful presenters. And one of them talked about how, now transgender representing as female, um,
Hmm.
and that one of the things that is the biggest fear is when you pass away. And if you
Yes.
have not, even if you specify, even if you put it
Hmm.
in your will, even if you make a directive to do so, there
Hmm.
are families that will actually come in and dress a representing female as a male in the coffin on their death, at their funeral.
Yeah. Right.
And that people attending are in shock because they've never seen this or they didn't know that. And so
Hmm.
you can imagine how important it is for the LGBTQIA community to be able to
Hmm.
have that respect and that inclusion and honoring who they are as a person, and who they
Well said.
identify as. Yeah.
Yeah, that's well said, Savvy. We're just here really to honor people. I know folks have a lot of different opinions about different, identities, but really we're just here to ensure that someone is honored in the journey that they're taking, and that their death has dignity in the way that they would like to be, they would
Right.
like to pass, right? As we all would do, right?
Yes.
If I wanted to wear a blue suit, in my when I pass, that would be something that I hope that someone would honor, right?
Yeah,
So
and
just
didn't throw you in a red bikini, I mean,
right, exactly, yeah, right. No,
although you'd work it,
unless I
you'd
ask, thank
probably
you.
work it, but
I'm glad we agree on that. Yes, yeah,
well, that
yeah,
is the truth. That's the
right.
whole point of, and though I know that you're very involved in the prevention of viral hepatitis and viruses and things like that, but I know you also are very involved as well in that whole inclusivity of treatment and how somebody is treated and how they are accepted for who they are in that treatment. So I know that's something very important. And that's why I kind of wanted to just
Mhm.
sort of touch on that discussion, because
Yes.
we also, like you said, it's not just for those who are transgender or,
Mhm.
Mahu or even LGBTQIA, but even seniors in general. Just
Mhm.
a kupuna who is getting care doesn't always speak up for their own rights in care. They just sort of go there, they end up in the hospital, maybe they fell usually, or they
Mhm.
contracted COVID or something, and they get in the
Mhm.
hospital and then they don't say anything. They just get treatment because
Right.
they tend to get quiet when they're older and they don't
Mhm.
have a say anymore. And so anyone who feels stifled in that say, I believe, deserves to get treatment and to be honored for who and what their desires and wishes are.
Yeah, and that's so true. It reminds me of a story that my mom told me recently. She takes the bus, right? And she lives at the bottom of a hill, so she has to take the number 14. She has to go up to her, takes a little while. She knows all
I
the routes.
love it.
But she's something is interesting that she pointed out is, there is a time for that bus route from like 3 to 6 where there is no bus route going up. So she and the other seniors just wait there, and they were having a discussion among themselves. And she said, you know what? It's because we are not the primary, whatever, we're not of the most concern as maybe the students or the people who are working. And so, what you were saying, there's also that feeling that um, they're not thought of, right?
Right.
Even as something as simple as a bus schedule.
Yeah.
So I think that perception can really kind of be internalized and they might not speak up. So that's why I'm so grateful for all the caregivers out there doing all the work tirelessly and sometimes tiredly, doing the work, because they're the ones that really ensure that they get what they need a lot of the times. So
Yes.
mahalo to all the caregivers who are listening right now.
Yeah, and but
Yeah.
and I mean, and the whole thing too, of course, is that when a caregiver is caring for somebody, a caree who is underserved in any way, then it's important to help them, to not only just protect them and help them to feel worthy, but to insist on proper treatment and
Hmm.
and respectful treatment of all kinds. And so I think that's really important. And I know that you had brought in some stats about the kupuna and those in our community here and seniors in the community. But I mean, how can we, I guess my question that I'm leading to is, how can we as caregivers
Hmm.
protect those? What would you say is the best thing that we could do to protect those in those situations, in any kind of, it's harm reduction services, right? So
Hmm.
how do we help that? How do we reduce the harm?
Yeah, that's a great question, Savvy, and it's a question that I get asked a lot, especially during trainings. And there's so many things we can do, but I think the easiest thing to start with is really just to listen to the person and respect them by calling them by the name that they give you and by the pronouns that they give you as well. That's the simplest thing you can do. And I always think of this example, if you don't mind me sharing, just a story that someone shared
Absolutely.
with me. And so in terms of pronouns and names, right? So they said, imagine that you won. Let's say you're the caregiver giveaway this week was a trip to Europe or something, right?
Oh,
I'm not
wouldn't I love
promising that.
that? I
Right,
would
yeah.
love to do that. The Department of Health is now sponsoring us. So
No, I did not say that. But let's imagine, right? Everyone listening, let's imagine that you win this, this caregiver pamper thing that happened to be a trip to Europe. You're in Europe. you're having a good time. And then as you're walking down the streets of Paris, you see someone with like a zippy shirt, or you hear someone talk about Roosevelt High School, or you even hear just someone say, "Oh," just like that, right? And so there's these little signals that immediately make you feel comfortable and reminds you of Hawaii. And you could probably, even though you never met this person, turn to them and be like, "Oh, zippies," or whatever. And you would have some sort of connection, and you would feel safe, and you'd be like, "Hey,
Right.
another person in Hawaii." So those little gestures, those little signals are like asking or calling someone by their name or using their pronouns, right? It's a little gesture in the world to show someone that they're in a safe place, that you're traveling the world together, and that you're showing them, "Hey, we have some sort of connection. I respect you." So
I
that was,
love that.
yeah. And that's something someone shared with me. I will acknowledge there is no Europe giveaway. So I just want our listeners to know that. So they
God,
don't,
I was so
they don't-
close. I was so close on that one. I know. There's a lot of funding that's being redirected right now for Lahaina, and I really support that. So I know I'm not going to take a trip to Europe away from you guys funding. But I'll tell you, it's really funny because just the other night on our support session, I had shared a story about that whole familiarity, and we were talking about speaking a foreign language, and one of our caregivers' mom speaks a foreign language, Japanese, and how it's nice to be able to speak because of the familiarity. Same with my mother as well. And I grew up in Japan, right? So I spent my summers in Japan, and I schooled here in Hawaii. And when I was in Japan, once I was older, and I was there on a trip by myself without my family. And I had been there for a couple of weeks, and I had been speaking nothing but Japanese. And, I missed home. And I was at a train station, and I saw, a haole girl, right? And I ran up to her, and I'm like, "Hi, do you speak English? Can you speak English? Can I just," and, she was like nine, and so she was from Germany. She spoke no English, but we both just sort of rattled off as much as we could to each other. And I thanked her, and I just really needed to feel home. But the bottom line is that I wasn't really just looking to speak English. I needed for vala'au. I needed for vala'au with somebody, talk story, get that, what's up, hui. And I needed to speak my local pidgin. I needed to feel like I was back home in Hawaii. I needed that, right?
Yeah.
And so that gave me that true sense of home. And I understand that completely. And that's the same thing for anyone and their identity.
Yes.
And if you identify, that brings you home. And so I love that you shared that story, because that's really one of the greatest things I think we can do is to support home for anyone. And even, anyone. Just support what is home for them.
Exactly. And I think in a way that's what caregivers do, right? In a way they're creating the home wherever they're providing care. And so that is such a beautiful statement. So thank you, Savy, for bringing that up. And I'm so glad you ran into that girl and you got to talk story for a little bit.
I never saw her again, and she probably tells stories to this day about some crazy woman coming up to her at a train station and how we didn't understand a word we said. But but it's funny. I just told that story, and that you told your story. So all things cosmically align, and I think that maybe it was meant to be that was the message for today. Was to just let people feel that identity of home and what that is, and respect and honor that at all times.
Yes.
And for whatever you believe, or for whoever you are, and for whatever that is, that's fine. But when it comes to somebody's care and their health, honoring and respecting their home and their identity is super important, I think.
I 100% agree. And I think that's the gesture that can really start folks to also feel like they're connected, and maybe as the care, what is it called? A caregivee? I don't know what the word is, but
we call them a caree. Anything you want. I like that.
Yeah, I think, because, sometimes the caree is a little standoffish or might feel a little afraid, right? And those gestures can open someone up to allow for caregiving and to make the relationship for both sides more meaningful as well. So I think that's an opportunity for both.
Yeah, it just boils down to, having a heart and love, right? And that's really what it's all about.
Yeah, yeah.
Good. Well, did I allow you to share anything that you specifically wanted to share today? I know we talked about.
Yeah, no, I think the only thing that else that I would add is, my contact information, you have it, Savvy. I think it's shared
Yeah.
with
Oh
other
gosh,
folks
I
as
forgot to
well.
pop it up. Thanks.
Oh,
See,
no
you should have
worries.
been the IT person. There it is. There it is, everybody.
So there, we have our health department website. Please feel free to avail yourselves of the services. But you can also reach out to me. My phone number is there. If you want to request trainings, or if you have, want me to connect you with other folks in our local communities who can really support and provide trainings as well. So just want to
Yes, I
acknowledge it.
love that. And just really quick, what are just a few of some of the things that you do that you train?
Yeah, so of course I talk about hepatitis and infectious disease, which is really relevant for caregiving in general.
Yes.
And then also I can provide just an overview of sexual and gender minority health, or LGBTQIA plus, as we were talking about today. So just what's happening in Hawaii, and also just like really short tips and tricks on how to work with the community, and also happy to connect you with folks in our community who are doing services as well. So
That's
whatever you folks
wonderful.
can think of, yeah, reach out.
I love that. So
Mhm.
808-733-9298. Give Thaddeus a call. And is that just not the greatest name in the world, Thaddeus? I love it. And I'm not even going to call you Thad because I love Thaddeus too much. I have to completely say the whole name. And so thank you for your time and for sharing and for really putting caregivers up front and understanding what a caregiver goes through, whether a caregiver themselves are part of the community or whether the one they're caring for is part of the community, that we always look at what that community is and what is home for them. So thank you for sharing that
Yes,
today.
thank you to all the caregivers, and thank you, Savvy. Thanks for welcoming folks home and keeping them home, whatever that means to them.
Yes,
So we appreciate that.
I love it. Aloha. Thanks,
Aloha.
Thaddeus.
Bye.
Bye. Wow, that was awesome, you guys. Wow, what a heavy show. Wasn't that good? I love it. And that's information you all need. And if you ever need to get in contact with anybody, gosh, just let me know. And thanks so much for our guests today. And again, a reminder that the show is brought to you by Give Me a Break, but it is sponsored by Giver's Guide. So get your subscription to the online magazine because that helps pay for all of this. And we want to keep this show going. We want to keep all things going. And now, of course, you're going to need to donate to Give Me a Break because we have to get that fund together for that European vacation. What a great idea. Wouldn't that be wonderful if the day came that we could actually offer breaks like that to our caregivers? I would love it. I would love that. So help support what we do and how we care for caregivers, as well as the show. Thank you so much. That's really what the Caring Caregiver Show is all about. It's all about resources and community. And next week, one of the resources we'll be bringing on will be Kathy Wyatt of Hale. So you don't want to miss it. We have a great announcement and some updates on what's going on with Hale and some answers to questions about daycare. So such a reminder, every day live right here, Wednesday at noon, every Wednesday at noon, the Caring Caregiver Show. And if you miss us live, that's okay. Here, look, I even have a visual to pop up now. Just simply go to our caringcaregivershow.com and you can go to any right there, and it shows you can see the podcast, you can listen to the podcast, check the audio, and it also shows on there, and you can't see it on the screen. I guess I need a better visual. All of the different podcast platforms that we're available on, which is just about every single one. So you can listen in podcast, you can go on to the caringcaregivershow.com website, or you can even go to Olelo TV 53 and watch past episodes. Bottom line is get connected. Get connected to resources, get support where you need it. You can do that at our online support sessions, and anyone can go to our website, gab808.org, to get help and support. Okay. In the meantime, thank you for listening. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for all that you do. I want you to know how awesome you are. If no one's told you lately, you're freaking amazing. All right. Remember to breathe. Here's hoping that you find more joy in caregiving every week and right here on the Caring Caregiver Show. Thanks for tuning in. And remember to be kind to yourself and all those who care. Just breathe. Aloha, everyone.